Alrighty, guys, we're back for Power 4 Gruul, and this is a Bloomburrow standard brew, and I'm Red Cat. Let's briefly go over the deck, then hop right into some ranked, but first things first, this is a suggestion over in the Discord, so thank you so much for the suggestion. It's gonna be a fun one. Now, the original suggestion was actually kind of an anti-meta list, so we do have cards in here like Obstinate Baloth. A 4 mana 4/4, when it enters you gain 4 life, and if a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard Obstinate Baloth, put it onto the battlefield instead of putting it into your graveyard. So what do we see a lot of? Well, I'm seeing a lot of discard decks, and when we're not seeing discard decks, we're seeing a lot of aggro decks. So this should help us against both of those, right? 4 life is actually a good chunk of life, and then of course, if we end up discarding this and getting it out there for free, that's pretty darn good. So yeah, interested to see how much this is going to do today, but right now, it's a 4 of for a good reason. And we have a couple Cactusfolk Sureshot packed into the 4-drop spot as well, with Gruul colors up there. It's a 4/4 with Reach and Ward 2. Now, at the beginning of combat on your turn, other creatures you control with power 4 or greater gain Trample and Haste until end of turn. Not bad at all, and that Reach should actually come in handy too. Maybe we block a Slick Shot Show-Off or two with this. One more 4-drop, we have Hugs, Grisly Guardian. This is an X double red, double green, 5/5 legendary creature. Has Trample. When Hugs enters, exile the top X cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. Okay, not bad. And then also, you may play an additional land on each of your turns. So honestly, I don't know how much like Hug's abilities are going to come into play in this deck in particular, but it is like a 4 mana 5/5 trample, which I really like, and I guess you never know. We do have some early ramp in here too on some creatures. You never know if you do like X's too, you get like an extra couple cards off the top that you can always play next turn too, which could be some extra lands as well. So yeah, interested to see what this little one of will do. Also here on the top end, we have a couple Dragonhawk Fate's Tempest. 5 mana, 5/5, rock and flying. It is a legendary creature, bird dragon. So whenever Dragonhawk enters or attacks, you exile the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 4 or greater, of course, right? Now, you may play those cards until the end of your next end step. At the beginning of your next end step, Dragonhawk deals 2 damage to each opponent for each of those cards that are still exiled. So like that's one of those ones where I had to read this like 3 times to make sure I knew what was going on, but that seems like a pretty good ability if you have anything established on the board, and hopefully at that point you have like at least a couple other creatures with power 4 or greater. But in this build, it might honestly be more than that, because a lot of our early creatures know how to grow into creatures with power 4 or greater as well. So I think this is going to be an excellent top end. To the 3 mana spots, we got 3 Outcaster Trailblazer. So this is going to be great card draw, because whenever another creature you control with power 4 or greater enters, you draw a card. Also, plotting this could really come in handy, because when it enters, you add 1 mana of any color, so that could be additional ramp too if you play it for free, if you plotted it the turn prior. We have 3 Scrapshooters in here as well. This is a 3 mana 4/4. You can gift a card, and when it enters, if a gift was promised, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls, and there's probably a lot of things you would not mind hitting with that ability. Now, it also has reach, so again, maybe we can block a Slick Shot Show-Off or something fancy. Also in the 3-drop spot, we have a couple Brotherhood's End, hopefully doing much more to the opponent's board state than to our own board state, as that 3 damage might not hit many of our creatures. That's the hope, at least, with it, right? A lot of that ramp that I was talking about, we have 4 Wandertale Mentors. It's a 2 mana 2/2 rocking those Gruul colors. You can tap it to add a red or a green, and whenever you expend 4, which is when you spend your 4th total mana to cast spells during a turn, you put a +1/+1 counter on Wandertale Mentor. So I don't think it's going to be unheard of to actually get this to 4/4. I think that would actually be pretty easy. We also have all 4 Bramble Familiars, just for more ramp. That happens to be a raccoon. And the raccoon theme is a little bit light in here, but it's going to matter for one of our 1-drops that I'll go over in a second. We have a couple Brazen Collectors here too. This is a 2 mana 2/1 with First Strike, and when it attacks, you add 1 red mana. Until the end of your turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. So again, it's kind of sort of important that this is a raccoon. Same thing with the Scrapshooter too, because the 1-drop of choice is actually Valley Mightcaller. 1 mana, 1/1, rock and trample. You guys might see this pop up in bunnies every now and then. But whenever another frog, rabbit, raccoon, or squirrel you control enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on Valley Mightcaller. Yeah, not half bad. Now, we don't have too many raccoons and frogs packed in. Of course, it counts itself as a frog, so we have 4 total frogs. Then as far as raccoons go, we only have 13. So another choice as a 1-drop here that you could consider is actually Evolving Adaptive. So I opted for the Mightcaller because Mightcaller already defaults with that trample. But that also means I believe that the Mightcaller is going to grow beyond what the adaptive could grow as well. So we'll see, though. This is also a good budget trade out, too. So definitely something to consider, Evolving Adaptive. And in the original suggested deck list, Paw Patch Recruit was actually the 1-drop as well. So maybe I'll regret putting this Valley Mightcaller in. So we do have some removal packed in with a hard-hitting question. Being able to hit creatures and planeswalkers is going to come in handy. And then we also have Hunter's Talent here, too. This is a 2-mana enchantment class. And when it enters, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. At level 2 for just 1 and a green, whenever you attack, target attacking creature gets +1/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. I think that trample is going to be very important. At level 3 for 3 and a green, at the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. So another way to potentially keep our hand nice and stocked up. Over in the mana base, guys, we got all 4 Fabled Passage. We got all 4 Copperline Gorge. Completely skipping over the Pain lands. I don't want to take too much damage. We do got a couple of Restless Ridgeline, which I think will be good in here. Oakhollow Village and Rockface Village also making the cut as just one-ofs in here. And I actually don't know if these will be worth it or not. We'll talk more about that in the final thoughts. Other honorable mentions, guys. More stuff that I actually cut from the original list. Keen-Eyed Curator was in that original deck list, as well as Giant Cindermaw and the Sunspine Lynx. Hopefully I don't regret dropping these, but I actually didn't want the anti-synergy with the Baloth, as I think the Baloth is going to be a little bit better in here. I want to make sure we can actually get that life gain, in other words. Some other cards I considered: Ruby Daring Tracker, the Trash Tactician could have been cool. Some more top end, like the Vaultborn Tyrant, maybe is something to consider. And I don't think the Cavern of Souls would be worth it in this particular build, but I did consider it for the mana base. Woo, buddy, lots of new stuff to go over. All right, I'll do my dandiest to save the more in-depth discussion for the end of the video. So in the meantime, let's go ahead, take this into some ranked and see how we do. Right into that first game, guys. Let's go. What am I expecting from the build? A little bit, dude. And you know what? I really want to go up against some discard decks today, because they've been absolutely devastating me recently. So I want to discard that Baloth so bad. Oh, game 1 mulligan, I would say, huh? Oh, much better. I'm hesitant to send a land, but that might be the best bet here. I want to send the village, and I hope that's okay. I hope I don't end up regretting that. Start with the mountain. We'll scare them with the red source, huh? Swamp. Tiny bones. Okay. Get that collector down. This is where the collector's first strike really comes in handy, huh? Swinging against that tiny bones. We might be able to ramp right into that sure shot if they don't cut down. There's our Baloth. Ooh. All right, let's see what they do. Oh, it is going to be cut down. Ah, opponent. You break my heart, opponent. Getting the Hunter's Talent down doesn't seem great. Unfortunately, that's our turn. That's a pretty bad turn. Cut down completely holding us up there. At this point too, of course, we're going to want to see that 4th mana off the top, but any amount of our ramp is totally fine as well. Are they going to cast this? Oh, they sure are. Card advantage and all. There we go. There's a little bit of ramp, but more spot removal would again put us in the same position as the turn prior, so Oh dear. Oh dear. Actually, Liliana will eventually make us discard the Baloth, which could pull us back a little bit, honestly. We still want to see some mana, though. Good thing they can't cast that with that one. Okay, there we go. Some tapped land, though. Oh, no. All right. Hunter's Talent, we're going to just have to wait on that, I would say. It's just, it doesn't seem worth getting down, because we could have been spending mana on it, but that's also the only removal we have in our hand, which seems like that's going to be pretty important when it comes time. Red Knight, we go for the draw. Oh, you guys ready? You guys ready for this? I'm so excited. Free Baloth, let's go. That's so awesome, man. I'll block that. They're gonna go for the mana, I guess. Oh, spot removal. Ah, shoot the sheriff. Dude, this is rough, but at least we have 4 untapped sources now. Another Hunter's Talent. That's not gonna be bad. So it does read other creatures you control with power 4 or greater. So they'll work with each other, luckily, but... And the ward, too, should really help here, too. I wonder if they just take the other Sureshot, because one of the talents... We play the talent, we pop the bat, then we can play the other talent anyways. It's a similar concept here, too, where we can still get the Cactusfolk back, but they took away that option to just double down on the Cactusfolk. And they take our creature away with Liliana, too, which I was not considering at all. Dude, we're in so much trouble right now, as the opponent is really doing the thing and playing our cards with the tiny bones. Oh, dear. Ooh, Scrapshooter. That's good. Well, I probably would have oohed at any creature off the top, honestly, but the reach blocks the Deep Cavern Bat for next turn. Without being able to play the Hunter's Talent, I would not be surprised if it's just going to be more spot removal and then our Hunter's Talent just chills in hand. At that point, we'll play one of them and start leveling it up as well. Yeah. So 2 pieces of spot removal here, and Liliana counting as another 2 pieces as they were able to do -2 2 times over. At that point, at least Liliana's off the board, right? Assassin's Trophy. I mean, I'll take it. We'll grab a... We have 2 red sources already. The majority of the deck is green. But I think I'll still grab the mountain anyways. And we have 2 forests, 2 mountains in the Copperline Gorge. I think that's fine. Down to 9 here. They're going to go ahead and play even more. The ramp on the Collector has really been helping them play everything they need off the Pickpocket. Was there a different way to play this game out, guys, where maybe I didn't give them as much fuel? Holy cow, Brotherhood's End off the top. Now, it unfortunately doesn't hit the Scrapshooter, but this is a really good top deck. Holy cow, there's no question in my mind we play this. Get the Sureshot back. At this point, dude, let's just establish one of the Hunter's Talents. Like, yeah, let's just play it. We're so close to losing anyways. We would need, like, mana off the top to play both cards in hand. And it needs to be untapped as well. Wow, Baloth. So none of these creatures can successfully deal the damage required for Shieldred, but Baloth's life gain is pretty darn good. And it does trade into the Scrapshooter, if that's what it comes down to. Like, sure, it's tempting to get the Sureshot down, because maybe they have another discard for the Baloth, but that's... Oh! The power up on the Cottage. I wasn't even looking at their mana base. That's game, actually, guys. That's 8 going through. Good game, opponent. What? Where's... Why does it only say hello and good game? Where's all the others? Is the game bugging out, guys? What's going on? Yeah, that was tough, dude. We kind of got picked apart there on so many levels, and we've been seeing a lot of Golgari. And I'll tell you what, I think that Baloth is going to be pretty darn good against Golgari overall. We did mulligan that game as well, so we were already a card behind, but then Tiny Bones was providing so much extra value as they were successfully able to cast so many of our smaller creatures. But like, maybe if I played less creatures, see, that's counterintuitive as well, but maybe that could have been played a little differently. Let me know in the comments. Nice. I like this. As long as we see mana off the top. We have 24 in here. Mentor technically ramps us into Trailblazer. We could plot it if we need more ramp on the next turn as well. I like it. Oh, first step though. First step is Mentor has to survive by some miracle. Get rid of one of the Dragonhawks because we're very far away from those for now. That's too bad we didn't have Baloth in hand, right? Turn 0, 4/4. And its talent. Oh, crap, dude. Let's get rid of one of the Scrapshooters because we have 2 of them. Just keep the variety in hand. Okay, mana off the top. You like to see it. Yeah, so turn 3 Liliana would be pretty bad, but at least we have our 3rd mana. Ithing Blade is a similar concept. So it's going to be a Pixie deck, right? So Scrapshooter, gift a card, pop the talent is going to be better after they spend a little bit on the talent, right? So we'll have them plug some mana into that. I guess we don't want them to get too many benefits off of it, though, too. We see mana off the top. Trailblazer plot would be really good. And I'm actually going to take that risk of seeing a 4th off the top that comes out untapped, especially since Fabled Passage is in here, too, as one of our... I don't know what to... I don't want to call it a dual land, but I don't know what to call this land right now. So we can still play Trailblazer and still get the Scrapshooter and start restocking our hand that way. That's still pretty darn good. Now with the ramp on the Trailblazer, we're not doing too much unless we see a 1-drop. So that's probably okay. And our 1-drops in here are green. Either way, we'll have the Gorge open, so that's fine. Scrapshooter. I'm tempted. I'm very tempted, but I'm not going to. Just a 4/4 with reach that blocks the Cosmos Collar is really good. There's a Fabled Passage. That's perfect. I'll do that now and get the Bramble Familiar down. We will grab a... I hope it's okay to grab a red source here. I think it is. I think we'll be okay. Because Bramble Familiar only taps for green as well. And just based on our hand... And at this point, too, we have a higher chance of drawing more green sources if we need it as well. So that was a good turn, dude. That was a very good turn. Yeah, I was tempted to pop the Bandit's Talent, but... yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's worthwhile. Because then they could draw another Bandit's Talent, and then we just have to discard more anyways. Oh, Legions to Ashes. They go ahead and exile our Scrapshooter. As Flying Vigilance, they attacked with a bat, so they gained 1, right? Rockface Village. We don't mind seeing mana, even though we had the ramp into the Dragonhawk anyways. Right now, X is 1. We're going to draw and see 1 off the top. Totally worth it. Absolutely. Because it's just another creature that can block their bat, too. Oh, it includes itself, so it's actually 2. Beautiful. I should not have played that land. I guess I wanted the Bramble Familiar untapped. That works. But we could have played Fabled Passage to thin the deck out. But hey, hard-hitting question. Let's do it. This is just damage, not a fight spell, but it's definitely worth it. And then we'll get the swing. Good stuff, man. Going to be another 4 damage for the Dragonhawk's ability. If they don't remove this Dragonhawk, they could be in trouble in no time. This might be one of those matches where I kind of wish we had a Restless land on the board. Bramble Familiar for sure is the sacrifice. Ooh, Trailblazer. We just outright play that. See what we draw. Yep. I was double checking the auto tapper to make sure that was okay, and I believe that is okay. Wow. Yep, green source. Scrapshooter, GG opponent. I completely understand the concede. That's pretty good, man. That felt good. And we didn't even need to get a free Baloth off their discards and whatnot. So right there with that extra green source, Scrapshooter was about to come down. That would have been the 4th creature with power 4. So we were about to swing with this. That trade would be worth it. So we would swing with that because that means they're not blocking the 5 going through. And the extra 4 would have been an extra 8 damage. So actually they would have been forced to block the Dragonhawk and have this 4 go through as well. So they'd go down to 1. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I completely understand the concede. That was pretty darn cool, man. Why couldn't that be the first game, huh? That was awesome. Let's keep going. Showcasing that top end too. That Dragonhawk seems really good in the right build. And when it's coming down at the right time too, of course. Opponent goes first. This could be really bad. Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna keep it. We got the 3 mana. Our turn 1's a Restless Ridgeline. So like we don't have to worry about that for now, I guess. Turn 2 Copperline Gorge. Okay, there we go. Okay. So we drew something to play on turn 2, which is going to be important. The first strike on Brazen Collector's usually a pretty decent blocker here early on, but against Cacophony Scamp, not so much. As they could still just pop it with the Scamp's ability. So we might save it for ramp, but we'll see what ends up happening. Valley Mightcaller. Oh. That's a little awkward. That would have been better draw last turn. At that point, do we just stick to the plan with the Collector? And we won't have anything to buff the Mightcaller when it comes time? Probably stick to the plan. I'll tell you what, if we do actually get this block in and they don't burn the Collector away, it's probably still a worthwhile block, because it would just be a trade instead of us taking the damage. And that would definitely be a worthwhile block. It's just burn anyways. Oh dear. Down to 12. Here's our turn 3. What do we want to do? We could go Mightcaller, Hunter's Talent, take the 3. They probably ping our face. I really doubt they hit the Mightcaller. Right? We have to take care of something here, though, because if Scamp gets through for 3, they can sacrifice it for another 3. We probably die next turn with a buff on the Swift Spear, or a buff on the Scamp for that matter. Oh, buddy. Tough decisions. Let's get that Mightcaller down and see if they end up just trading. Yeah, I think that's fine. See where they put this 3. They do target our face. I think that makes a lot of sense. We get to keep the Mightcaller around as a potential chump blocker, but chump blockers aren't great against mono red because of Monstrous Rage being in hand all the time. So, do we still try the block is the question. See, we're at 9. We have nothing in hand to buff the Mightcaller anyways. We just try the chump. It's not great though. Okay. Okay, we try it. It's a Bane Splitter. We might not take too much damage here, guys. Wow, we actually successfully chumped against mono red. Holy cow, dude, that's awesome. That was good. That was a good turn for us then, because it's just a little 1 mana card to save us 4 damage. That's, yeah, excellent. Trailblazer, we might be able to get Trailblazer to trade into the Swift Spear. The problem here is the 2 toughness. I'd love to plot this to have the Dragonhawk, but then we probably die next turn. What are the odds of us dying next turn anyways? If they go, give me 1 second, opponent, I am thinking. if they go mountain... Yeah, I think it would be pretty easy for that Swift Spear to do 9 damage, right? Even with the 2 mountains, with enough buff spells and that prowess. We go Trailblazer, they shock it. Yeah, we risk it. We risk the plot. It's totally fine. Let's see what happens. So the point being here is it's all risky anyways. If we get our blocker down, they just like shock it away. Swift Spear goes to 4. There's their 3rd mountain too, which I was trying to calculate in. Wow, show off. And we might be alive. Maybe. Shock our face. We are not alive. So either way, it could have been a shock for the Trailblazer. Worth the risk then, right? So we were just kind of like thinking that through, seeing like what was actually worth it. Because if they didn't have the shock and we were going on to our next turn there, and like we actually had the Trailblazer and we didn't top deck mana, we play the Trailblazer for free, grab whatever mana we need, a red source in this case, right? And get that Dragonhawk down, which of course can block in the air for the show off. And now we have a potential jump blocker on the ground for the Swift Spear. This would have been a great game to see that Baloth life gain come in handy as well. So yeah, I think that plot risk was totally worth it there. All right, let's keep the ball rolling. It's kind of feeling all right. I feel like the lines are fine. One of those things when you're putting a deck together right now, you have to just like anticipate so much removal for all of your creatures. Like, so each creature has to be like thought about, like if they remove this right away, is that okay? Will the build still hold up? Nothing heavy on the top end, but we can't mulligan this, right? I don't know. The opening hands have been, I've been struggling to evaluate if they're worth it. I think this is worth it. I don't think we want to mulligan this. Not when we have all this, like, yeah, the mana we need and stuff. Let's scare him with this mountain. What did they call? Rat! Oh, no. when we visited rats, at this point, it would have been a couple weeks ago. It was actually surprisingly good. And so I'm excited to see the opponent's rat build. There might be a couple different ways to put it together. Yeah, this Marsh Stalker is definitely scary. All right, we got to get that green source down because we plan on the Mentor for the turn. And for turn 3, it depends what they play, because we don't have double green on the board yet for the Scrapshooter, but we do have Rockface Village if we want to go Trailblazer. We do not accept this trade if they swing. We just take the damage. They're looking at that Mentor like it's not going to survive, right? So what I said at the beginning of this game, it's very true. It's like, how often do creatures actually survive the turn? Mentor's alive! We can celebrate a little bit, but wow, 5 coming through on the Marsh Stalker. Yeah, no, we just, so now we might have, I'm gonna say, we'll have, with the Mentor open, 4 mana. We see a 4-drop. But Hunter's Talent's pretty good too. It's a really good draw, actually. Because now we can do 2 different things. We can get a Familiar down for more ramp. Or, at that point too, we might as well establish the Trailblazer for the turn, call green. Right? Now that that's down, when it comes time for the Scrapshooter, we'll draw 2. Also just like another creature that that blocks a little better here. So Lord Skitter is probably the target, but I do want to pop that Marsh Stalker at some point too. Yeah, Lord Skitter. Lord Skitter's a pretty valuable rat. A lot to consider, man. And a build like this too, where a lot of the ramp relies on these creatures and like the free mana that you get off a Trailblazer. There's just a lot of stuff to think through every turn. Hopefully I'm doing all right here. So with the Restless Ridgeline, okay, Yeah, if we see an untapped mana off the top, I don't think that's going to matter too much. I think we'll just not, instead of playing two things. I guess it depends. We'll go no blocks here. Down to 11 is scary, but drawing off of Trailblazer is a little bit more important. Yeah, I guess if it is an untapped green source, we should get the Scrapshooter down and the Familiar. If it's an untapped red source, then we can't do that anyway, so it'll be Ridgeline. And if it's Fabled Passage, we definitely do that, because then we want to start thinning out the deck for sure. Yeah, they keep looking at our creatures like, I feel like they're not going to survive at some point. Okay, they do have a virtue. They actually value our ramp over our Trailblazer. We do end up finding the untapped green source, which is actually essential here now that we lost the green source on the Mentor. So pretty lucky draw. We'll do that because we will, there's nothing I want to pop, right? Yeah. Because we want to draw on the Trailblazer. Wow, Baloth. Okay. That life gain should come in handy here, I would say. We do have a swing because the rat can't block. Plus, if it does, it's a 1-1, and I don't know how many combat tricks rats would be playing anyways, especially with only an open cavern. We don't plan on chumping with the Trailblazer either, or trading. Vren comes down. Okay. Luckily, our cards right now do not get picked up by Cut Down. Swinging for 5. Do we finally trade? Yeah, we should get rid of this, but the threshold is coming. Probably an all-right trade instead of taking 5. And actually, they're pretty far from the threshold. Also, one of our creatures died, so that's a little scary, right? Before playing that, we're just going to play the Baloth, go back up to 15. Oh, was that a worthwhile block then? Probably. That's a tough decision, since they were getting one off the Vren. We'll start with the draw, get the Baloth down. Another Baloth isn't bad, but I doubt they're rocking too much. Discard in a rat build. Another Bramble Familiar, I guess. Get the Ridgeline down, and now they block into the rat easy peasy. Finding some removal for this Vren is going to be important. Yeah, that's going to be scary, dude. They have Shoreline Looter. We can swing with that 4/4 because it just comes back. Now we'll take the 4, I guess, back down to 11, right? That's tough. Their last card in hand could be some spot removal too. Excuse me, guys. All right, 4 comes through. Maybe they'll just save the spot removal for our turn because they don't know what we could potentially play from our hand. Or they don't know if we want to power up the Restless Ridgeline too, but we're kind of in danger. Okay, Hunter's Talent. There we go. There we go. I feel like these villages are a little bit... They're kind of like clogging up the board a little bit, right? So we'll use our green source, and we'll use one of these, I guess, for the Hunter's Talent. And we got to take care of that Vren. Has Ward 2, unfortunately. So, gonna be pretty much all of our mana, regardless here. But no matter what, we got to take care of it. Oh, yeah. Instant speed spot removal could still ruin this for us. We have to try it, right? I think. The problem is we target, we pay the ward, and then they're like, by the way, spot removal. I'd rather them remove the Baloth over the Trailblazer because Trailblazer has a chance of restocking our hand further. So, all right. Yeah, we're going to try it. Resolve. Pay. I'm scared. Don't do it, opponent. Don't do it. No, go for the throat. Well, crap. They get another rat here. We're going to be forced to block. They have a beautiful full swing. And we can't even block the Vren because that would be 12 going through. Dude, I'll tell you what, man. Rat's looking good. Oh, and we survived the turn when we block here, right? So I think they just missed lethal. But we're taking 7 down to 4, and they had another 4 on the Vren and the 1/1 rat here too. So, I mean, they're probably okay though, regardless. These Bramble Familiars kind of just like not doing anything for the game, as I guess we saw them in a weird order and we were actually really struggling to start to establish things. Surprised that we haven't had too many turns where we can actually power up the Hunter's talent too. We've just been on the run this whole game. So a 1-drop's fine, because now we can also play the Baloth too. We go back up to 8, but we are super duper dead as this Vren runs away with it. We'll definitely let them swing because that is a freaking fun swing, huh? Because anytime you're playing something like this, it's a good time. So we can block a 7/7 and the 9/1 as well. Drop them that GG's as we take 15 total. Total deck win rate, 25%. We only got 4 games in though, guys. That's a little surprising, as I thought this deck was going to run a little bit faster, even though it's like a little bit of ramp, a little bit of setup. I thought we were going to be blazing through some games. We're going to try one more real quick, even though we're getting late into the video here, because I think we can easily end on a high note. Also, guys, while I have you here 36 minutes into the video, first of all, thank you for being here. Second of all, make sure you check out that description where we got that Discord link, as well as that Patreon link too, if you're interested in supporting the channel that way. And also, for the other YouTube stuff to mention, if you liked the video, make sure you drop it a like. And if you like the channel, consider subscribing. All right, last hand of the evening. What do we think? We go first, got ramp on the Familiar. Up against discard. That would be cool again for the last game. Let's keep this, because I don't think it's bad at all. And I'm actually not going to spin the deck with the Fable right now. I would not mind seeing more mana off the top. And we're going to go right into that turn 2 Familiar as well. So, yeah, all right. I'll actually hold the fact that we have mountains in here for now, because it doesn't really affect too much. Familiar comes down. If Familiar survives, we have a turn 3 Baloth, which is just not half bad. We can continue to hide the fact that we have mountains, but no, we should probably get the mountain down. Because we're going to need 2 red sources when it comes time for Dragonhawk, and I don't want anything messing that up. Alright, let's see if Baloth lands. It does. It didn't stick at all, actually. Huh. We got over there? The Great Door. Crap is happening. Grab a red source off the Fabled Passage. I mean, we get that Dragonhawk down while we can, right? I mean, Trailblazer would be cool too. It would actually be... Trailblazer would give us 3 mana available. We don't have another 3 mana card right now. The other Baloth doesn't make as much sense to me right now, too. So yeah, just get the Dragonhawk down for the turn. And we have a swing on the Baloth as well. See what we see on the Dragonhawk, but we can't play him anyways because it's the next end step, which will be... Ooh, Cactusfolk Sureshot could have been cool. We already played a mana for the turn 2 because we had to. It's going to be another 4 damage from the Dragonhawk as well. Down to 12. This should be a very scary board state for the opponent. Draw a card, discard a card. For 4 mana, they can transform this, and it transforms into a legendary land. Oh, activate only if there are 4 or more permanent types among cards in your graveyard. And it transforms into the core. They discarded Conspiracy Unraveler. GG opponent, I completely understand. Another game where we just got this incredible amount of value established onto the board at a reasonable pace as well. And that's kind of what I was expecting, just like really fast games, right? Because even if they didn't concede and they pass it back, it depends what's in their hand, of course, but if they missed spot removal for the Dragonhawk, that is just incredibly dangerous. As now we're swinging in with all this power, exiling another 2. That's a lot of extra card advantage, as now we're untapped as well. Yeah, good stuff. And we're going to play a forest, and with those extra cards too, maybe Trailblazer could also help us get another power 4 or greater on the board, restocking our hand further. Maybe we have to consider 3 of the Dragonhawks, because that kind of seems like it was an MVP today. All right, guys, let's go over the deck list again. That was an awesome, fast last game, and I think that we had a great chance, even if the opponent did not concede there, which is exactly why they dropped the concede, right? Power 4 Gruul. I couldn't really think of a name for this one. I had it named Anti-Meta for a while there. As I was playing around with the build and rearranging the cards, really the only true anti-meta is the Baloth, and then other stuff in here is just kind of helping us deal with the meta. The reach on the Sureshot, the Sureshot, the reach on the Scrapshooter as well, right? We're looking at the Slickshot Show-Off meta, where the Slickshot Show-Off is just like a 4 of in every red deck. So also Lightning Strike, 4 of in every red deck. So having that power 4 is actually incredible. Well, power 4 is one thing. Being 4 force is another thing, right? Having that toughness 4 is also very important when it's just a lot of burn all the time. And what we ended up seeing was in those aggro matches, they actually took out a lot of our early ramp with that burn instead, which actually just completely clogged up the late game. Very important and noteworthy. So no turn 3 Baloth against mono red, as they successfully burned away our early ramp. Okay, a few things, guys. I do believe that skipping the Pain Land was very important, even though we got some games where we needed our 5th mana on the board and we saw Copperline Gorge, so it unfortunately comes out tapped. It just, I don't think that matters too much. I think taking too much pain damage right now in the meta is really bad. So I think the mixture of early game Copperline Gorge and late Fabled Passage is totally fine. Even sometimes early Fabled Passage also totally fine, because you have a lot of mana in hand already, so thinning out the deck is going to be great there too. Guys, on the note of Fabled Passage, I do not have any of the new ones, and I've been bringing this up when I'm playing with it, that when I post the deck list in the description and over on Aether Hub, if I remember, I'm going to change it to the newest version. But since this is a rare reprint, always keep an eye on everything that's reprinted, because if you have any older versions, of course, you don't want to waste your rare wildcards on these. So when I post it, I'm playing with the older version, but when I post it in the description, I'll try to remember to put the newer version there, and then always keep an eye on that, just in case. What else, guys? What else? 3 Dragonhawk Fates Tempest could be really sick for this top end. I actually don't have the 3rd one. I'm not going to change that right now anyways. I actually don't think I was going to change too much with the build at all, as I don't really know what I would end up changing. I liked the double Brotherhood's Ends. I do think that's going to help us, and hopefully not wipe our own board state too often. The Bramble Familiars might be something to drop. Just remember, it's another raccoon, which is why we have the Valley Mightcaller. And when I was going over the list too, I brought up the budget oil 1-drop that I, for some reason, can't remember the name of now, as a potential budget replacement for Mightcaller. But that 1-drop doesn't have trample already. And I also valued the Mightcaller because I think that it could grow further than, Evolving Adaptive, that's what it's called. I think it could grow further than what the Evolving Adaptive could have grown in this particular deck. But I might be terribly wrong, as we did not see our 1-drop Mightcaller, actually be a 1-drop today. We just saw this too late into the game every time. Maybe it's not even necessary at that point. And this is another rare too, so I think it's a good thing that I brought up the Evolving Adaptive early on in the video too, as a potential trade out. But maybe we don't even need 1-drops. Maybe we just cut these, go at more removal or burn or something in the early game, and maybe we would be fine. Definitely something to consider. Definitely let me know in the comments if you would like that decision, if that would be something that you would trade out for the build. But I'm personally not going to trade it out right now. We just didn't have enough games testing whether or not the Mightcaller was going to be worth it. And of course, in this build, you're trying to get it to at least a 4/4. And I think that would be easy enough in here, hopefully, with it being a frog in and of itself and then having 13 other raccoons, most of them being early raccoons where we're ramping, so we're potentially dropping multiple of those on the same turn as well. And when you're seeing a lot of extra cards off the top with Trailblazer as well, then just seeing some extra 1-drops here and there could be really good. A hard-hitting question, though. Maybe we do at least want 2 of those as well, because the Hunter's Talent actually being at 2 mana seemed a little detrimental. But I actually really like Hunter's Talent, and I really like what it's doing. I think that in a lot of games, it's just not going to be unheard of to want to spend mana on level 2 and potentially level 3 too, especially in a game against like Control or something. Having that extra stuff established on the board is very important. This is a tough one, man, and it's not very budget friendly with a lot of these 4-ofs being rares and stuff too, like Bramble Familiar. And like I'm kind of on the fence about the Bramble Familiars and the Mightcallers too. And when I'm on the fence about these extra rares and stuff, you know, this is one that I have to say put on the do not craft list. And I think the game spoke for that as well. This is going to be more janky than you would expect. When you're looking at it, you're like, wow, there's a lot of power here. But I do think it's going to be more janky than we would expect. I really like the Baloth too. I'm going to try this out in some more builds as well. Maybe even like mono green or something. It really depends what meta you're seeing, but I'm seeing a lot of discard, and I'm just every other game I'm discarding something. So I don't know. I like it. And of course it fits the whole power 4 or greater theme as well. Didn't get to see the 1-of hugs today. Of course I'm going to keep it, not going to drop it. Just not as many sample games showcasing a lot of these cards that I'm on the fence about. So I'm not going to change anything. All right, guys. Oh, also the villages. I don't know how worth it these are. I don't know how often we're actually going to... So the Rockface Village can target raccoons. Can't target the frog, unfortunately. And the Oakhollow Village can target the frogs and the raccoons as well. So maybe the Rockface Village would be the drop. However, there are going to be moments where maybe you do want to give your raccoon haste, like I just brought up, going up against Control, and you're establishing a lot of stuff anyways. If you top deck like a Scrapshooter, you give it haste with the Rockface Village, because haste is very important against Control builds, you know? Yeah, maybe it's worth the 1-of, maybe. I haven't really decided. I'm really on the fence about the whole list, honestly, so... Cactusfolk Sureshot's Ward 2 is really good, but what makes it even better is when it's on turn 3 off of ramp, right? Where you actually got to save the Mentor, and on turn 3, you play the Sureshot, the Mentor gets the counter, and the Sureshot's just chilling with that Ward 2, which that early into the game is very powerful. On your next turn, you could drop a 4th mana and go ramp into like the Dragonhawk, which will get haste off of the Sureshot too. So we got these like really crazy lines where games could be over pretty fast, honestly. So that is one thing that I'm impressed about with the build, but we didn't really get to see that crazy of a line today, but that's one of the reasons why Sureshot is a 2-of. Okay, guys, enough rambling. If you made it this far into the video for real, y'all are champions, and I super duper appreciate you. I will see you in the next video.